Imagine creating something revolutionary without waiting for a stroke of genius. Sounds impossible? Albert Einstein proved otherwise. Some of his brightest ideas didn't emerge in moments of inspiration, but through boredom, routine, and the silence of repetition. Forget the image of a scientist lit by a magical spark. Einstein's creativity was strategic. He tamed internal chaos with mental imagery, simple analogies, and habits that trained originality like a muscle. In this video, you'll discover how to apply the same methods, even when your brain feels completely off. Get ready to see creativity in a new light, where disciplined reasoning can be more powerful than waiting for a eureka. Plus, you'll understand why Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. But that gift, he trained like an athlete, hones reflexes. If you think you're not creative, it's only because you haven't seen how Einstein did it. Stay with us to the end to discover the trick he used when his mind went blank. Now let's begin. Albert Einstein's creativity didn't appear magically. It emerged from a constant process of mental visualization. As a young man, he wondered, what would it be like to ride on a beam of light? That image became the seed of relativity theory. Instead of waiting for inspiration, Einstein trained his mind with imagery. Scientists now know that this type of visualization activates the prefrontal cortex, a region linked to creative thinking and problem solving. In short, imagining stimulates the brain as if we were acting. Even without paper or formulas, Einstein built entire experiments in his mind. This freed him from the limits of reality and gave him room to explore the impossible. For him, creativity was a mental testing ground, not a random talent. This approach is backed by modern neuroscience. Research from Stanford University shows that imagination activates multiple brain networks simultaneously, making it one of the most powerful ways to spark original ideas, even without feeling inspired. Einstein called this method Gedankenexperiment, thought experiments. Instead of formulas, he used stories and visual analogies. When he couldn't solve something, he created a mental story and let his brain work on it in the background. To understand gravity, for example, he imagined a man in free fall. To him, motion and space could be narrated like a scientific fable. So even on unmotivated days, he thought like an artist, using physical concepts as creative metaphors. The absence of inspiration was never a problem. In fact, Einstein saw it as an advantage. A routine of disciplined thinking replaced the need for creative flashes. For him, mental consistency was more reliable than waiting for moments of brilliance. Einstein himself said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." Persistence, then, was his top creative trick. A brain tired of shallow thinking often finds creative breakthroughs out of sheer cognitive exhaustion. This principle is backed by research from the University of Chicago. When we're forced to keep thinking about a problem, even without motivation, the brain starts exploring alternate paths, which often leads to genuinely creative solutions. Einstein also used self-imposed constraints. By limiting the variables of a problem, he forced his mind to be more inventive. This matches the creativity through constraint theory, popularized by cognitive psychologists in recent years. When you take options away, your mind is forced to innovate. For Einstein, the lack of tools or ready-made answers was an invitation to ingenuity. He didn't fear mental emptiness, he used it as a catalyst. Boredom was fertile ground for new ideas. His creativity also stemmed from idle time. Long walks, slow showers, even dishwashing were sources of introspection. During these moments, the mind wandered and built unlikely connections. Science calls this the diffuse mode of thinking. Researchers like Barbara Oakley studied this state. The diffuse mode activates loose links between ideas, allowing for original insights. It's exactly the state Einstein sought by playing violin or wandering aimlessly, what he called purposeful disengagement. Einstein was a master of pause. He knew creativity comes in waves, and forcing it is useless. So he alternated between intense focus and intentional distraction. It was in that dance that his most powerful ideas emerged. Another secret: he wrote little and thought much. Before putting anything on paper, Einstein spent days silently processing concepts. For him, writing crystallized thoughts. So he waited until the idea was mature and fully clear in his mind. Neuroscientists like John Cunios and Mark Beeman show that creative insight happens more often after periods of incubation. In other words, the longer you silently think and reflect, the more powerful the breakthrough moment will be. Einstein also valued failure as a creative engine. If an idea didn't work, he reworked it into a new hypothesis. He said, "If at first an idea doesn't seem absurd, there's no hope for it." He embraced error as part of the process. Creativity psychology confirms this. Studies show that truly original ideas are born from failed attempts. Mistakes break mental patterns and allow the reconstruction of concepts in unexpected formats, like a sculptor finding form in raw marble. Curiously, he used humor as a thinking tool. Mental jokes, paradoxes, even puns helped Einstein dismantle serious ideas. This encouraged odd associations, unlocking unexpected insights through laughter and lightness. And that lightness was essential to his genius. Einstein laughed at himself, mocked his own mistakes, and used humor as a mental reset. On gray days, humor was the spark that lit the creative flame. No inspiration required. Einstein's humor wasn't just entertainment, it was cognitive play. By bending logic into jokes, he destabilized fixed thinking. This approach mirrors the concept of divergent thinking, where minds explore multiple directions instead of seeking a single right answer. Creativity thrives in cognitive detours. He also used contradiction as creative fuel. He'd ask, "What if the opposite were true?" Challenging assumptions allowed him to explore paradoxes. That method mirrors the Socratic technique, dismantling certainty through questions. Einstein's science was built not on answers, but deeper, smarter doubts. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance tolerance, the ability to hold conflicting ideas without collapsing. It's a trait of high-level creators. Einstein didn't rush to resolve contradictions. He let them exist, knowing that creativity often lives in the tension between competing truths. Another key to his method, daydreaming with discipline. Einstein wasn't randomly distracted. He cultivated productive mind-wandering. Research in cognitive science shows that structured daydreaming enhances neural connectivity, especially in the default mode network, responsible for linking memories, goals, and abstract thoughts. When most people lose focus, they panic. Einstein leaned into it. He'd follow odd thoughts, letting the unconscious mind rearrange information behind the scenes. Then, when he returned to the problem, connections had formed naturally, like stars aligning after a mental eclipse. He once described imagination as a preview of life's coming attractions. To Einstein, imagining wasn't escaping reality, it was shaping it in advance. That mindset turns passivity into invention. Instead of waiting for insight, he previewed possibilities like a mental filmmaker editing futures. He believed that intuition was a form of learned pattern recognition. When faced with complex ideas, his gut reactions came from years of internalized knowledge. Neuroscience now shows that intuition is not magic. It's rapid subconscious computation trained through deep familiarity and reflection. That's why Einstein read obsessively. From philosophy to fiction, he absorbed everything. Reading expanded his inner toolkit. Even when inspiration lacked, stored knowledge created fertile mental ground. Ideas germinated in silence, like seeds planted in a soil of varied thoughts. He also valued cross-pollination. Physics wasn't his only love. He drew from music, literature, and art. His violin wasn't just a hobby. It was a cognitive lever. Playing music helped him think rhythmically, metaphorically, and spatially. Each domain fed the other. Neuroscientific studies confirm this synergy. Engaging in music activates brain regions also tied to spatial reasoning and mathematical thought. For Einstein, playing Bach wasn't distraction, it was mental alignment. Music helped him tune abstract ideas into harmonious, elegant solutions. He often returned to simplicity. "If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself," he said. Einstein stripped complex ideas to their bare bones, making them clearer and, paradoxically, more profound. Simplicity was his creative scalpel. This aligns with the Occam's razor principle. The simplest solution is often correct. By decluttering thought, Einstein revealed core truths. Complexity was respected, but clarity was the goal. His creativity worked not through extravagance, but through elegant reduction of unnecessary layers. He approached problems sideways. Instead of attacking questions directly, he'd change the frame. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. He climbed cognitive ladders to gain new perspectives. Perspective shifting is crucial in creativity. It enables reframing, turning problems into opportunities. By zooming out, Einstein could spot patterns others missed. Reframing isn't avoiding the problem. It's choosing a different lens, a new metaphor, and letting fresh light in from unfamiliar angles. His workspace reflected this philosophy. He didn't need order. He needed openness. Piles of papers surrounded by silence. It looked chaotic, but for Einstein, it was mental ecology. Ideas grew in wild conditions, like strange plants thriving in a lush, untrimmed jungle. Modern psychologists call this creative disorganization. A certain level of mess can boost creativity by offering unexpected associations. Order often stifles spontaneity. Einstein thrived in structured chaos, a playground for chance encounters between half-formed thoughts, random memories, and absurd possibilities. Einstein's notebooks were filled with odd sketches, half-written phrases, and wandering thoughts. These fragments later became theories. He didn't demand perfect coherence from the start. He let the raw material pile up, trusting that connections would emerge through persistent reflection. This method reflects a principle known as slow hunches. Author Stephen Johnson describes how great ideas often incubate over time, gathering fragments. Einstein allowed these slow hunches to ripen. He wasn't chasing lightning, he was patiently harvesting storms of mental potential. He believed time was elastic, not just in physics, but in thought. You couldn't rush insight. You had to let it stretch, pause, loop back. Some ideas took years to bloom. Einstein waited. While others rushed forward, he stood still, listening inwardly. Patience for him was a creative tool. While others grew anxious in silence, Einstein deepened his thoughts. He welcomed delay. In those long pauses, ideas weren't lost. They matured. Silence was not absence, but fermentation. From the stillness, the extraordinary emerged. Einstein's process reveals something revolutionary. Creativity isn't magic, it's momentum. Every small thought, every idle sketch, every silent walk built toward breakthroughs. The genius wasn't in his flashes. It was in how he carried the weight of ideas day after day. This momentum-based creativity aligns with the compound effect observed in cognitive science. Tiny, consistent efforts accumulate into cognitive transformation, like neural savings stored over time. Einstein didn't leap, he layered. Thought by thought, day by day, he engineered his originality. He also embraced slowness. Unlike the world around him, Einstein didn't glorify speed. He knew that quick answers were often shallow. He lingered on questions, sometimes for years. Slowness gave him depth, and depth, not speed, is where true creativity lives. Today's world prizes speed over substance, but Einstein's genius came from resisting that pull. He let his thoughts settle. He observed without rushing. That mental stillness created space for unexpected connections. His creativity was slow-cooked, not flash-fried, and that made it unforgettable. He even had a phrase for this: combinatory play. It meant juggling ideas with no goal in mind, just for mental joy. This playful thinking broke boundaries. New theories weren't invented, they were discovered, waiting in the unconscious, unlocked by imagination's dance. Modern research supports this. A study from the University of Amsterdam found that creative breakthroughs are more likely after periods of unrelated mental play. It loosens rigid thinking, allowing the brain to recombine known elements into surprising, useful new forms, just as Einstein did. He also worked during off hours. His job at the patent office became legendary. Not because it was exciting, but because it was quiet. In those slow hours, he dreamed in equations. The monotony gave his mind room to roam beyond the desk. This counters a myth that great minds need ideal conditions. Einstein thrived in mediocrity. While stamping patents, his brain brewed revolutions. He turned bureaucracy into a lab. What looked like dead time to others became his secret workshop for reimagining the universe. There's a lesson here. You don't need a mountaintop or perfect studio to create. You need mental stillness and persistent curiosity. Einstein found both in an office no one cared about. That's how revolutions are born, quietly, invisibly, from within. He described this as spiritual curiosity. He wasn't religious in a traditional sense, but he felt awe. That awe, toward the cosmos, toward math, toward mystery, kept him mentally alive. He didn't chase answers. He chased better questions. And that gave him fire. Einstein often said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious." This mindset turned every unknown into possibility. Where others saw a void, he saw a doorway. Mystery wasn't fear. It was an invitation to think deeper, feel bigger, imagine wider. His relationship with mystery fueled resilience. When stuck, he didn't panic. He wandered, he played. He trusted that answers would surface in time. This trust in the unknown, this deep mental faith, allowed his creativity to breathe without choking under pressure. This connects to psychological grit, the trait of enduring discomfort while pursuing long-term goals. Einstein had it in abundance. He wasn't just smart, he was stubborn in the best way. He believed every problem, no matter how strange, had a logic waiting inside, and his logic was often emotional. He felt his way through equations. He said, "I live my daydreams in music." His intuition, shaped by years of thinking, spoke through emotion. That feeling-guided intellect let him sense beauty in math, grace in gravity, wonder in time. He treated each idea like a symphony, not rushed, not mechanical. He layered parts, checked harmonies, felt the rhythm. When the pieces fit, it wasn't just correct, it was poetic. His theories weren't just right, they were elegant. Creativity meant finding truth and beauty together. Beauty mattered to him. He believed the universe had elegance and science was the language to describe it. That belief drove him past dead ends. It wasn't enough to solve. It had to feel right, internally resonant, like a note hitting perfect pitch. Modern physicists still speak of beautiful equations. Einstein's equations aren't just powerful, they're graceful. And that grace was intentional. He edited and reworked until the ideas flowed naturally. Creative clarity wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. That's why storytelling mattered. Even in physics, he framed ideas as journeys. Time and space became characters. Light had behavior, gravity had stories. He narrated the cosmos so minds could follow. His creativity wasn't hidden in numbers, and it sang through narrative form. Storytelling, research shows, enhances retention and engagement. Our brains are wired for stories. Einstein used this wiring. He turned the abstract into personal tales. The relativity of time, explained through trains, clocks, and motion. He made the incomprehensible intimate and unforgettable. Einstein didn't wait for inspiration. He built it, step by step. His creativity came from discipline, curiosity, silence, and play. This wasn't mythic genius. It was repeatable process. And now you've seen how to apply it in your own life. You don't need to feel ready. Einstein rarely did, but he showed up. He visualized. He asked weird questions. He laughed at his failures. He wandered when stuck. He slowed down. These are tools you now carry in your mental arsenal. His legacy teaches us that creativity isn't an accident. It's an architecture. And even when your brain feels foggy or uninspired, that's not a flaw. It's the start. Because your mind, like Einstein's, only needs space, friction, and persistence to spark. So next time you're blocked, think like Einstein. Reframe the problem. Add some play. Strip it down. Embrace the absurd. Follow the mystery. Don't panic. Wonder. That shift alone is enough to turn mental silence into your next big insight. He proved that every mind holds vast creative power if trained with intention. Whether you're solving equations, writing stories, or building ideas, the method is the same. Treat each thought like a slow flame, not a flash. Let it build. Let it glow. Creativity isn't lightning. It's a slow-burning star. Einstein carried that fire across decades, nurturing it through rituals, questions, and experiments. And now you can too. Not someday. Today, you've got the formula. All it takes is motion, silence, and refusal to quit. If you've made it here, you've just traveled through Einstein's creative engine. You've learned how to think without panic, how to wander without wasting time, how to sculpt thoughts from stillness. That's not theory. That's a new way of seeing your own mind. So write your ideas. Daydream intentionally. Visualize concepts. Play with problems. Let silence speak. Most of all, stay with the questions. Because, like Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And now, your imagination is sharpened like never before. Like Einstein, don't chase genius. Build your process. The spark is already inside you. Now you know how to light it. And when it dims, you'll know how to bring it back, because the tools are timeless. And now, they're yours. If this video opened a new door in your thinking, subscribe now, like, and share it with someone stuck in a creative rut. Leave a comment with "slow lightning" and remind the world, the most powerful ideas begin in silence.